Formula One is more than just a battle for speed. It's a showcase of brilliance, resilience, and sheer dominance. At the pinnacle of this sport stand a few drivers who didn't just race, they changed the game. These are the titans who transcended the cockpit and became global icons. Their names echo through F1 history, not just because of victories, but because of the way they won. Michael Schumacher is the very definition of Formula One dominance. With 7 world championships under his belt, Schumacher didn't just beat his rivals, he dismantled them. His most iconic run came with Ferrari, where from the year 2000 to 2004, he led the team to 5 consecutive titles, transforming them from underperformers into an unstoppable juggernaut. His work ethic was legendary, and his ability to extract maximum performance from a car, even in the toughest conditions, made him nearly unbeatable. Even after a brief retirement, he returned with Mercedes, showing his hunger for racing was still alive. Yet, his story turned tragic after a skiing accident in 2013, leaving the world to wonder what could have been if fate had taken a different turn. Ayrton Senna, on the other hand, was a different breed of greatness. While Schumacher was methodical and relentless, Senna was raw passion and instinct. His talent in wet conditions bordered on supernatural. It was as if the car obeyed his every whim. His rivalry with Alain Prost defined an entire era of Formula One, and his no-holds-barred racing style made him both feared and revered. Sadly, Senna's life was cut short in 1994 at the San Marino Grand Prix, a moment that shook the sport to its core. His tragic death sparked a wave of safety reforms that have saved countless lives since. Even today, Senna's name is whispered with a kind of reverence, a mythical symbol of what it means to push beyond human limits. Lewis Hamilton brought a new kind of dominance to F1. Statistically, he's unmatched. The most wins, pole positions, and podiums in history. But what truly sets Hamilton apart is his presence off the track. He's not just a driver, he's a brand, a voice, a movement, a fashion icon, a social activist, and a vocal advocate for diversity in motorsport. Hamilton is as polarizing as he is successful. While some praise his courage and progressive values, others criticize his celebrity status and outspoken nature. But one thing's for sure, his legacy is cemented. He has changed the perception of what an F1 driver can be, and will forever be part of the sport's DNA. And now, a new name is carving its place among the greats. Max Verstappen. Young, aggressive, and utterly fearless, Verstappen is a throwback to a more ruthless era of racing. While Hamilton and Schumacher calculated every move, Verstappen charges in headfirst. Whether it's bold overtakes, fiery radio rants, or never backing down from a fight, Max brings a raw energy that fans either love or love to hate. But one thing is undeniable. He's built to win. With multiple world titles already under his belt, he's only just getting started, and the F1 world knows it. These drivers, Schumacher, Senna, Hamilton, and Verstappen, represent 4 different styles of greatness: the tactician, the artist, the activist, and the warrior. And together, they remind us why we watch this sport. Not just for the speed, but for the stories, the personalities, and the legends that keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Now we head to the geniuses, rebels, and wildcards. While F1 is often defined by its great champions, the sport has also been shaped by its rebels. The drivers who don't just race, they disrupt, challenge, and entertain. These figures might not always fit the mold of the perfect driver, but they bring an energy to the grid that can't be ignored. From ice-cold tacticians to firebrand competitors, this is where the personalities shine and the stories unfold beyond the racetrack. Kimi is the quintessential wildcard. Known for his quiet, no-nonsense approach to racing, Kimi became a legend not for his words, but for his silence. His famous radio message, "Leave me alone, I know what I'm doing," during the 2012 season became an instant classic, capturing his laid-back yet fiercely competitive nature. Kimi didn't need the spotlight, he let his driving do the talking. And despite his calm demeanor, he had a career that included an iconic world championship in 2007 with Ferrari. His no-frills style made him one of the most respected drivers And when he retired in 2021, F1 lost one of its most enigmatic characters ever. Then there's Fernando Alonso, a man whose career has been as unpredictable as it is brilliant. A two-time world champion, Alonso is known for his ability to pull off near-miraculous performances, often with cars that aren't the fastest on the grid. His time at McLaren, Ferrari, and Alpine was a mix of brilliance and frustration, as his teams struggled to keep up with the frontrunners. Yet, Alonso's relentless spirit never faltered. Even as he reached the twilight of his career, many questioned if he could still compete at the highest level. But Alonso returned with the hunger of a young driver, showing that skill and determination never fade. Sebastian Vettel, meanwhile, transformed from one of the most despised drivers on the grid to one of its most beloved figures. When Vettel won 4 consecutive championships with Red Bull between 2010 and 2013, his dominance wasn't universally appreciated. Fans grew tired of his constant victories and his ruthlessness on track, especially following the infamous Multi-21 incident with teammate Mark Webber. However, as Vettel's career progressed, something changed. His move to Ferrari brought heartbreak, but it also brought a more reflective, humble version of the driver. In his final years with Aston Martin, Vettel embraced his role as a mentor and environmental advocate, winning over even the harshest critics. From villain to hero, his evolution mirrors the changing landscape of F1 itself. But for every calm and calculated genius, there are those who add chaos to the mix. Drivers who revel in unpredictability and challenge the norms. Pastor Maldonado is a prime example of this. Known more for his spectacular crashes than his victories, Maldonado's career was defined by his inconsistency. Yes, he did win the 2012 Spanish Grand Prix in one of the most stunning upsets in recent memory, but that single win did little to mask his reckless driving and endless string of mistakes. For many, he became a symbol of the chaotic side of F1, fast, unpredictable, but always on the edge of disaster. The world of F1 is not just about speed or tactics, it's also about personality. Whether they're introverts like Raikkonen or outspoken warriors like Alonso, these drivers have added layers of excitement to the sport. They are the rebels who refuse to be boxed in, the wildcards who add spice to every race. And while they may not always conform to the conventional definition of greatness, they are the drivers who make Formula One truly unforgettable. Let's continue to the most controversial drivers. Formula One thrives on drama. Rivalries, heated moments, and polarizing figures have always kept the sport buzzing, and some drivers, whether intentionally or not, have found themselves at the heart of controversy. These aren't your typical heroes or legends. They're the names that divide fans, raise eyebrows, and light up social media every race weekend. In a sport driven by discipline and image, these drivers became infamous for going against the grain or crashing right through it. Let's start with Nikita, perhaps the most controversial modern pay driver F1 has seen in years. From the moment he entered the sport with Haas, questions were raised not just about his driving ability, but about his off-track behavior. His aggressive style on the circuit often bordered on reckless, and multiple on-track incidents painted him as a hazard rather than a competitor. But it wasn't just his driving off the track. Mazepin made headlines for the wrong reasons, drawing criticism for inappropriate behavior and social media controversies that quickly turned the public against him. His time in F1 was short-lived, and when Haas finally dropped him, few were surprised and even fewer were disappointed. On the other hand, Lance Stroll presents a more complicated case. He's talented, that much is clear. He's scored podiums, even grabbed a pole position in tough conditions, but for many fans, the shadow of his billionaire father, Lawrence Stroll, looms too large. His career has often been viewed through the lens of nepotism, with some believing he wouldn't have made it to F1, let alone stayed, without his father's financial backing. No matter how well he performs, that perception continues to follow him, and it's unlikely to disappear anytime soon. Then, there's Esteban Ocon, a driver with undeniable skill, but a knack for finding friction with just about everyone around him. Ocon's driving talent is often overshadowed by his contentious relationships with teammates. From clashing with Sergio Perez at Force India, to on-track tension with Pierre Gasly and Fernando Alonso, Ocon has developed a reputation as a tough teammate. Maybe too tough. His aggressive wheel-to-wheel racing often leads to controversy, and while he consistently delivers solid performances, his name tends to come up more in post-race drama than victory celebrations. Romain Grosjean fits into a different kind of controversy, one tied more to performance and risk than off-track behavior. Grosjean showed glimpses of brilliance throughout his career, even stepping up for Lotus during challenging years. But unfortunately, he was more often remembered for spectacular crashes. His tendency to be involved in accidents earned him a reputation as unpredictable and dangerous. Yet despite all this, Grosjean's miraculous escape from a fiery crash at the 2020 Bahrain Grand Prix changed everything. In an instant, he went from a punchline to a symbol of survival. That moment became one of the most iconic in modern F1 history, not for points or podiums, but for sheer human resilience. The drivers, Mazepin, Stroll, Ocon, and Grosjean, each show a different side of controversy in Formula One. Some spark outrage with their off-track antics, others with perceived privilege, and some with their high-risk approach to racing. But all of them keep the F1 conversation going long after the checkered flag waves. They might not be loved by everyone, but they're impossible to ignore, and in a sport built on passion, that's its own kind of legacy. The future of F1, young stars and rising pressure. Every generation in Formula One brings with it a wave of fresh talent. Young drivers hungry to prove themselves, eager to dethrone the veterans, and dreaming of championship glory. But in today's F1, the pressure on these rising stars is more intense than ever. From the moment they land a seat, expectations are sky high. Fans, media, and teams all demand greatness instantly. Some crack under the weight. Others rise above it and start crafting their legacy. Welcome to the next era of F1, where talent meets intense scrutiny and the spotlight never dims. Oscar Piastri is the quiet storm of the current grid. Reserved, calm, and composed, Piastri doesn't make headlines with dramatic quotes or wild moments. He lets his driving speak for itself. After a dominant run through the junior ranks, including multiple championship wins, the pressure was on when he joined McLaren. And so far, he's delivered. Consistently challenging more experienced drivers, Piastri has proven that his talent is no fluke. But there's still a question lingering. In a sport where personality often plays as big a role as skill, can his quiet demeanor hold him back in the long run? Or will his calm confidence become his greatest weapon? In stark contrast, Lando Norris is one of the most charismatic and marketable drivers on the grid. His meme-worthy humor, Twitch streams, and social media presence have earned him a massive fan base. But behind the laughs is a serious competitor. Norris has shown remarkable pace and consistency with McLaren, often outperforming the car's potential. Yet, despite his speed and growth, one major milestone remains missing: a race win. He's come agonizingly close, but that elusive first victory continues to slip through his fingers. The big question: can Lando convert popularity into championship potential? George Russell has taken a different path, one defined by patience, performance, and high expectations. After years of dragging an under-Williams car far beyond its limits, Russell earned a coveted seat at Mercedes. Many believed he was the natural heir to Lewis Hamilton's throne, and while he's had his moments, including a maiden win, his time at Mercedes hasn't been as dominant as some predicted. He's shown flashes of brilliance, but also inconsistency. The potential is undeniable, but the path to the top has proven far bumpier than expected. The pressure is on, not just to beat his teammate, but to live up to the hype that surrounded him for years. Then, there's Yuki Tsunoda, one of the most unpredictable and entertaining young drivers in the paddock. Known for his fiery radio messages and emotional outbursts, Tsunoda brings raw energy to every race. His aggressive driving style has made him a fan favorite, but also a source of concern. At times, his emotions seem to get the better of him, leading to mistakes that cost points and opportunities. But beneath the hot-headed exterior is real talent. If he can mature and channel his passion more effectively, Tsunoda could evolve into a true contender. The future of F1 is thrilling, but it's also unforgiving. These young drivers are expected to perform under more pressure than ever before, from sponsors, from fans, and from within their own teams. Not all of them will make it. Some will fade, others will be replaced, but those who can rise above the chaos and deliver on the track and in the public eye have a chance to become the next legends of the sport. In the high-speed world of F1, youth is both an opportunity and a burden. And only those who can carry it with grace, grit, and raw speed will define the next chapter of racing history. The GOATs, but not in a good way. In Formula One, the term GOAT, greatest of all time, is usually reserved for the likes of Schumacher, Senna, or Hamilton. But sometimes, that title takes on an entirely different meaning, because for every driver who becomes a legend for their brilliance, there are those who become unforgettable for the opposite reasons. Whether it's a catastrophic crash, endless penalties, or just bad luck, these drivers carve their names into F1 folklore for all the wrong reasons. Nicholas Latifi was never expected to become a world champion, and for most of his F1 career, he remained a backmarker with little attention. But that all changed in one fateful moment at the 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. With just a few laps to go, Latifi crashed, seemingly just another incident. But his crash brought out the safety car, setting off a chain of events that altered the championship forever. The restart allowed Max Verstappen to overtake Lewis Hamilton and win the title in one of the most controversial decisions in F1 history. Suddenly, Latifi went from being a forgettable presence to the center of the sport's biggest drama. He didn't decide the outcome, but he became the face of the chaos. For better or worse, that single moment immortalized him in F1 history. Then there's Logan Sargent, the latest American hopeful in Formula One. With the sport's rising popularity in the United States, there was hope that Sargent could reignite American success in the series. But so far, his performances have fallen flat. Struggling with consistency and often languishing near the back of the pack, his place in F1 has come under intense scrutiny. It's a tough spotlight to be under. The expectations of an entire nation and time may be running out for him to prove he belongs. In a sport where every tenth of a second matters, Sargent has yet to show he has the pace or presence to survive. But perhaps no one embodies this section more than Pastor Maldonado. The ultimate wild card, Maldonado was fast, incredibly fast, but unpredictably dangerous. In 2012, he shocked the world by winning the Spanish Grand Prix, delivering one of the most unexpected victories in recent memory. For a brief moment, he looked like a future star, but what followed was a career defined by crashes, penalties, and sheer chaos. Whether it was spinning out alone, colliding with rivals, or getting flagged for aggressive driving, Maldonado turned unpredictability into an art form. Fans never knew what to expect, except that it would probably involve carbon fiber flying everywhere. These drivers, Latifi, Sargent, Maldonado, may not have lifted trophies or broken records, but they've left their own kind of legacy. They've become cult figures, symbols of F1's unpredictability and absurdity. In a sport built on perfection, sometimes the imperfections are what fans remember most. Because even if you're not the fastest, the most consistent, or the most successful, you can still be unforgettable. And in the world of Formula One, unforgettable is sometimes just as powerful as unbeatable. Not every Formula One driver becomes a legend or a meme. Some exist in the space between, talented, respected, sometimes even victorious, but never quite stepping into superstardom. These are the drivers who help shape the narrative of the sport in quieter yet still impactful ways. They may not dominate the headlines, but they've earned their place in the story of F1. Take Sergio Checo Perez, for example, a driver whose career has been one of resilience and late redemption. For years, Perez was seen as a midfield specialist, always delivering solid results, often outperforming his machinery, but never really seen as a title contender. That changed when he joined Red Bull and played a crucial supporting role in Max Verstappen's championship battles. His defensive driving in critical moments and ability to win races when it mattered proved that consistency and experience still hold immense value in a sport often obsessed with youth. Daniel Kvyat, nicknamed the Torpedo, had one of the most unpredictable careers in recent F1 history. He showed promise early on and even secured a seat with Red Bull, but his aggressive style led to high-profile incidents, including a famous collision that earned him his nickname. When he was dropped in favor of Max Verstappen, it felt like the final chapter of his F1 journey. But Kvyat made multiple comebacks, bouncing between Red Bull's junior team and reserve roles, earning both criticism and admiration for his persistence. And then, there's Daniel Ricciardo, the man with the smile as wide as his overtakes. Ricciardo is one of the most beloved personalities in the sport, known for his humor, charm, and fearless driving. His aggressive passing moves and last-of-the-late breakers style made him a star at Red Bull, where he regularly challenged and sometimes beat the best in the world. But after leaving the team, his career took a downturn. Struggles at Renault and McLaren dimmed his star power, and his once bright future became uncertain. Still, Ricciardo's popularity never waned, and now, as he fights to make a full-time return, fans continue to root for him, hoping for one last chapter of redemption. These drivers may not have reached the absolute peak, but they've enriched the sport in countless ways. They've created unforgettable moments, inspired fans, and proven that you don't need to be a world champion to leave a mark on Formula One. Because at the end of the day, Formula One is more than a battle for points. It's a collection of stories, of comebacks and collapses, of quiet excellence and loud chaos. Some names will go down in history for breaking records, others for breaking hearts, but all of them contribute to the rich, unpredictable, and endlessly thrilling world that is Formula One.